All right, good morning, traders. Today is October 15th, 2025. My name is John Carignan. I am the lead instructor here at the BYOB Trading Room. Thank you for being here. Thank you, everybody out there in podcast land, digital land, cyber land. Thank you for following my content, subscribing to my content, liking my content, leaving the kind words. I like that. And thank you for sharing the content. Special shout out to John Jordan, Bob Jordan, Kathy, Sarah Roaster for sharing the content, helping get the good word out there to the rest of the world. Appreciate that. So let's go ahead and drill down here before I go. Got some announcements to make. All right, tomorrow, this is for members only, okay? But that's the benefits of being a member. And by the way, if you're not a member, all it takes is $14 for 14 days. And you can be a member, all right? That's it. I'll leave the link in my description. A member e-learning it's going to be Ed Carter at noon, myself at 1, and Rick at 2. There'll be a 10-minute break in between each of us. And the topic's going to be position sizing and how many positions to have on at one time. That happens tomorrow, and that starts at noon. So if you're looking for me, all right, and you don't see anything on the screen 1 or screen 2, all right, or it doesn't look like there's anybody in the room, that's because we're all over there in the combo room, all right, preparing and delivering little webinars, okay, for the members over there in the combo room, okay? So if you don't see me, that's where I am, all right? It's hard for me to broadcast out of multiple rooms at the same time, so I'll probably only be broadcasting or be listening to the combo room. So that's where I'm going to be tomorrow at noon, all right, in the combo room. All right. Okay, so let's talk about yesterday's price action or what happened, okay? So my SPY pivot this morning, 660.50, remains the same place. Above it, I'm a bull. Below it, I'm a bear. IWM and GLD made new all-time highs. SPY made an outside day. It's a higher high and a lower low, but closed below a bearish trap under the 17. Diamond Dow made an outside day. Same thing. Higher high, lower low, closing over a bearish trap and over the 17 EMA. Gold and FNGU made lower lows and lower highs, closing underneath bearish traps and underneath their 17 EMAs. Remember, IWM made a new all-time high, okay? So SPY closed with a very weak one-candle, 2-hour uptrend and a 10-minute downtrend. Silver made a lower low and a lower high, closing over the bullish trap over the 17 EMA. Very close to tackling the all-time high there on silver, all right? Just want to make a note of that. Okay, USO, remember gold made a new all-time high. Silver's very close. USO in a daily downtrend made a lower low and a lower high, closing under a bearish trap under the 17 EMA. UNG is in a daily downtrend, made a lower low and a lower high, closing under a bearish trap under the 17 EMA. Very close to making another new all-time low on UNG. US dollar index remains in an uptrend and closed near the 98.90 area. SPY Max Pain 662 with a put to call ratio of about a little over 1 put for each call that expires today at 4:15. Remember, those index options expire at 4:15 while the security options expire at 4. Now, if this is your first time listening and watching, okay? These are all in bullish daily uptrends over the 17 EMA. These are all in bearish daily downtrends under the 17 EMA, okay? If they got a little star next to it, means they're producing a launch pad, otherwise known as a bull flag, and they're about ready to probably launch off the top of that launch pad and make another higher high, okay? If they have a little star over here, they're building out a platform, otherwise known as a bear flag, from which to dip lower, okay? In other words, they're in a bear flag, they're moving over to the right, and the next move should be, not all the time, okay, for a lower low. So we'll see what happens with those. So these are bearish under the 17 EMA on the daily chart, bullish bullish over the 17 EMA on the daily chart. All right, let's take a look at some charts finally. All right, here's SPY daily chart. Okay, so we got a higher high and a lower low. Okay, so that makes it an outside day. We closed. See the yellow 3 EMA. We closed under the bearish trap. See the dots? That's the 17 EMA. Okay, so we closed under the 17 EMA and under the bearish trap. We're gapping up this morning though. Okay, so there's SPY on the daily chart. On the 2-hour chart, you can see a very weak one candle uptrend right there up over VWAP. Very weak one candle uptrend yesterday. That's where we left off with into the close. Uptrend right there. On the 10-minute chart, we had a 10-minute downtrend after a lot of consolidation here, about almost 3.5 hours of consolidation with a downtrend, producing a higher low, and you can see price action is now making a higher high early this morning. So there's 10-minute chart, makes a higher low, now produces a higher high in the morning hours. So there's SPY on the 10-minute chart. All right, let's take a look at QQQ. Okay, QQQ doing the same thing. Again, nice 3.5 hour consolidation, producing with a dip back, producing a higher low. And of course, we got a higher high right after making that higher low. Okay, so 10-minute chart, same thing. 10-minute downtrend coming into the close. 2-hour chart, still in a 2-hour downtrend. Daily chart, looking like a lower high, lower low, closing under a bearish trap. Notice the 3 no longer above the 8, under the 8 here. So that's a bearish trap, and under the 17 EMA right there. Okay, so 2-hour, daily underneath there on the daily chart. Okay, now on the daily charts for SPY, okay, technically we're in a downtrend because we got a low here and we made a lower low. All right, so we're technically still in a downtrend. Now, something to make a note of. Okay, big igniting candle down. Okay, no follow through. Okay, no follow through. All right, so you don't get any follow through. There's a high probability we're coming back up to the highs. Just want to share that with you. Okay, so no follow through on that igniting candle down. Big red candle with no follow through, and you can see no follow through here, no follow through here. There's a high probability we're going to come back up here and test the high. So there's SPY. All right, we are in a downtrend. Okay, we can break the downtrend by making a higher high. Okay, so we're going to come back up here and probably test those highs. If we make a higher high, we will then be in a daily uptrend once again. Okay, let's take a look at QQQ. And you notice QQQ did not make a daily downtrend, okay, because there's no candle that spiked through the 17 EMA down here. So on the QQQ, we're still in an uptrend, okay, just not moving up, all right, but we're moving to the right, okay, showing a left shoulder here and a head here. We still haven't produced a right shoulder yet, okay, so there's QQQ on the daily chart. Both QQQ and SPY still bullish on their weekly charts with green dots there at the 17 EMA. So both QQQ, SPY, okay, are in weekly uptrends. Same with the monthly chart. You can see the green dots. Both are in monthly uptrends there on QQQ and SPY right there. Okay, both have a game plan. Let's go look at those game plans. And, all right, let's see if I can pull everything into focus right here. Okay, so pivot for QQQ, 597.50. Above it, I'm a bull. Below it, I'm a bear. Green erases red. Entry. See right over that platform up there? Okay. Green erases red. Entry over 602.60. Red erases green entry under 592.25. Okay, so I like 2 days and 9 days till expiration. Friday options on the multiple of 5. And that goes for QQQ and SPY. Okay, I like strikes that are $2 to $15 out of the money. Okay, I like the Friday options on the multiples of 5 because they got higher open interest, which means to me more liquidity. More liquidity means a tighter bid-ask spread and the ability to get in and out with ease. All right, I trade 10-minute uptrends over VWAP, and I trade 10-minute downtrends under VWAP. If a 10-minute uptrend were to manifest down here, okay, long before the green erases red entry, I would not be opposed to trading it as long as it breaks the bullish 10-minute rubber band candle. If a 10-minute downtrend were to manifest up here, over here, long before it gets to the red erases green entry, and this goes for SPY and QQQ, I'm not opposed to trading it. Okay, it'd be kind of counter trend because QQQ's in a daily uptrend, weekly uptrend, monthly uptrend, but bear that in mind. You have to take that with a grain of salt whenever you trade these downtrends from these areas up here, okay, that you are going counter trend. Okay, so QQQ, I like 10-minute downtrends as long as they break the bearish 10-minute rubber band candle, okay, and the rubber band candle, the point of interest is usually and almost always VWAP here. So there's QQQ game plans. Take a look at SPY's got the same thing. Again, I like the same options. All right. Green erases red entry over. See the base built up over there. Over 665.75. Pivot 660.50. Above it I'm a bull. Below it I'm a bear. Red erases green entry underneath 654.10. Underneath that would be a bearish entry. Again, I like 10-minute uptrends over VWAP. I like 10-minute downtrends under VWAP. Again, if the one downtrend was to manifest here, or here, or here, long before it gets to the red erases green entry, again, I'm not opposed to trading it. Just got to break that bearish 10-minute rubber band candle. Okay, that's my rule. All right, that's what I like to trade by. All right, it's a pretty good rule. Works for me. It's not 100%. But it works very well for me. So there's SPY game plan, again, on the uptrends. Now, my favorite trade is the 10-minute uptrend that resides inside the 2-hour uptrend, that resides inside the daily uptrend, that resides inside the weekly uptrend, inside the monthly uptrend, okay? Why is that my favorite trade? Because I got all of the bigger time frames supporting my little 10-minute uptrend. Okay, so that's why it tends to last longer. It tends to go further. All right, that's why I like that. Okay, when they're all inside, I get all of the support and from the bigger time frames helping me support my 10-minute uptrend. That's my favorite trade. Right now in the SPY, technically, we don't have an uptrend. But let me just say, because we're in downtrend status, we're not moving down, and you notice I wanted to point that out, that igniting candle down, huge igniting candle down, all right, had no follow through, all right, so chances are we're coming all the way back up here to visit the highs. We'll see how close we get today. Okay, you can see we got consolidation, all right, and then we rallied up and consolidated over prior consolidation. That's a bullish environment. Okay, we got knocked off the platform, but we recovered in the post-market. You can obviously see, because here's the pre-morning price action up here, up above, right up there. Okay, so there's SPY. There's the game plan for SPY. Okay, this morning, all right, I'm going to look for, because price action, okay, because price action is consolidating here. Okay, I'm going to look for a continuation of this 10-minute uptrend right here. Okay, so I will be looking for a green candle, all right, a continuation green candle. I don't want any topping wicks. Okay, see how that's got more wick than body and tail? That's not my candle. That shows me bearish control. I don't want any red candles. That shows me bearish control. Okay, I don't want any dojis or any spinning tops because that shows me that bulls and bears agree on the price. Okay, I need movement, all right, when I trade options because they start decaying almost immediately. All right, so I need movement. So I need to see a green candle like this one, like that one, like that one, like that one. Okay, I need to see nice green candle. All right, so I will be looking for a continuation of the 10-minute uptrend starting out of the gate. Now, I will probably box off the first 15 minutes and trade the breakout of either side for that first 15 minutes. Bear in mind, if we do break out from the downside, chances are we're coming down to the overnight low. Will be a first target right here. Okay, this would be a first target if we break out to the downside. And then, of course, gap fill. Okay, right down here. Okay, notice we gapped down yesterday. Let's back out. Okay, remember we closed here the day before. We gapped down. And big clue here, see the bulls? They closed the gap. All right, they filled the gap. Bulls rallied all the way up and filled the gap. Okay, showing you that they're present and accounted for. They're on the field and they're ready to play. All right, so that's a bullish clue. The consolidation over the prior consolidation, another bullish clue. More consolidation over the prior consolidation, another bullish clue. Okay, big red candle, igniting candle down. Okay, with no follow through, another bullish clue right there. Okay, means there's a high probability we're coming all the way back up here to test those highs. We'll see what happens. All right, so notice big red candle down right into the 50 SMA, and then no follow through. So guess what? Coming back up to test the highs. So we'll see what happens today. It's looking good so far. I will have a bullish bias coming out of the gate this morning, unless, of course, something like a tweet changes that. Okay, so there's the daily chart on SPY. Let's go visit. Let's visit this right here. Okay, so this is our. Okay, this is our daily chart. Okay, we're in a downtrend, still up here in quadrant 4. From the perspective of the bigger picture, we're at the top of quadrant 4. That's bullish. Okay, we're in a daily downtrend because we made a lower low. So we're bullish and in a downtrend that's not moving down. It's actually a failing downtrend because we're not moving down. No follow through. Okay, we made the lower low, but we're still not following through with that downtrend. Okay, so there's SPY. Take a look at QQQ, same look. QQQ is still in the uptrend. Again, up at the top of quadrant 4, that's bullish and still in an uptrend right there. FNGU in a downtrend, all right? You can see the low. They made a lower low, so technically in a downtrend. From the perspective of the bigger picture, all right? This is bullish, top of quadrant 4, but we're in a downtrend, and it's a failing downtrend because it's not moving down, all right? So there's FNGU. All right, from the perspective of the top to the bottom, all right, this is the high, this is the low. Price action closed yesterday. It's this red candle here. Closed in the bearish side, all right? So on the short term, FNGU is still looking bearish right here because we closed here yesterday, and that would be in the lower third of that high to this low. That's the lower third. So on the shorter terms, on the shorter time frame, I'm kind of bearish on FNGU, being that they closed in the lower third. So we'll see what happens. We're getting kind of mixed signals, all right? We're getting some bullish environment on the SPY, but on the FNGU, we're showing a little bit of bearish activity or a bearish sentiment right here on FNGU. We watch FNGU. It's got 10 of the most heavily weighted securities in the QQQ and SPY. All right, so that's, and when those 10 move as a pack, they tend to jerk those two indexes right along with them. Okay, let's go take a look at IWM. All right, IWM, new all-time high. Doesn't get any better than that. Closing at the top of quadrant 4. That's bullish and still in an uptrend. Diamond Dow looking pretty good here, recovering all of that. Okay, Diamond Dow yesterday, that would be this candle here, producing an outside day, higher high, lower low, but closing well over the midpoint. Okay, and Diamond Dow is still bullish up here, neutral to bullish up here, and in a downtrend. Still in a downtrend. See the low? They made a lower low. That puts them on downtrend status. All right, if they make a higher high, all right, they will negate the downtrend and convert the uptrend. We'll see what they want to do. The good news is they're in a downtrend that's no longer moving down. Okay, see the exhaustion candle there? All right, it went from boom, boom, boom down there, and they got exhausted, so no follow through from that. So we'll see. So there's Diamond Dow. Let's take a look at GLD. Okay, GLD yesterday, new all-time high. That's bullish, still in an uptrend. Silver. This is silver making a new rally high today. This is yesterday's candle right here. Lower high, lower low, closing over a bullish trap over the rising 17 EMA. Top of quadrant 4, that's bullish and still in an uptrend. USO. Okay, USO, this would be yesterday's candle right here. Lower high, lower low, closing under a bearish trap. All right, and under the 17 EMA, we got a low. They made a lower low and a lower high and another lower low. So they're in a downtrend, USO, currently, and they're just neutral. They're not in the lower third. They're not in the upper third. So they're just neutral, leaning to bearish because they're underneath the midpoint right here. Okay, so there's USO, neutral and in a downtrend, leaning bearish. Okay, let's take a look at UNG. UNG, very close to printing new all-time lows. Looks like they got a new all-time low this morning, right here. This is yesterday's candle, the red one next to it. Okay, lower high, lower low, closing under a bearish trap under the 17 EMA, near the bottom of quadrant 1. All right, so that's bearish and in a downtrend. They got themselves in a downtrend by, see this low here? They took it out by making a lower low. So that produces a downtrend. That's why I said on SPY, if they produce a higher high, that will negate the downtrend and convert the uptrend, okay? If they could just get that done. All right, right now, they're not moving down, so that's good news. And moving over to the right, that's not too bad either. All right, so there's UNG. Let's take a look at our technicals. T21, 2001, okay? So we got down in the morning and we rallied up all day, okay? So notice when we gap down or when we go lower, we get more participation, all right? And then when we go lower, okay, and when we go higher, we get reduced participation right here. See how it went from, we gapped down in the morning, so that was more participation, and they bought it up, and then we had less participation right there. So from more to less right there on T2101. Okay, notice we did double bottom down here, okay, in the reversal zone. There's T2101. T2122. All right, so we came out of the oversold zone, all right, clear into seller's chop zone, then into the buyer's chop zone where we camped out and kind of meandered around inside the buyer's chop zone yesterday, okay? That is a bullish outlook with price, with the data up over the midpoint here on T2122. T2123, we made a higher high, so that puts us in an uptrend. Not really moving up, just really moving over to the right. So on T2123, We're now in an uptrend because we made, there's a high, we made a higher high. We just inked it out by pennies there. We're still underneath the falling 200 SMA, not my favorite place to be. And we're in a bear flag, all right? So we're in an uptrend that's not moving up, okay? Remember I said we had on the SPY and QQQ, Diamond Dow, we're in downtrends that were not moving down, all right? And here we are with T2123 that's in an uptrend that's not moving up, all right? So that's why I'm saying we're getting conflicting signals here. So we could see a lot of consolidation in our near future based on the conflicting signals. All right, that means a lot of moves over to the right. We could find ourselves in a range up here where we are right now. So there's T2123 15-minute chart in an uptrend that's not moving up. Go to the 3-bar chart. Okay, 3-bar chart has a low. We made lower lows, so we're in a downtrend. Noticing price failing to get on top of the 200 SMA, but failing also to break the bearish rubber band candle, and the 200 SMA would be the point of interest on this. Okay, so no rubber band candle, no bearish rubber band candle broken on the 3-bar chart. We are camped out underneath the 200 SMA. I think we could recover if we gave a little bit of effort, all right? Not seeing much effort yet, all right? But we're in a downtrend currently, okay? If I back way out, you can see on the bigger picture, all right, we're in quadrant 4. That's bullish up there. But we need to be moving up, and we don't seem to be moving up at this time. Maybe it takes them a little while to fill up on some spinach and mustard, and maybe we can get that going later on this week, maybe later on next week. We'll see what happens. There's T2123. Again, like I pointed out, conflicting signals, okay? We've got T2123 in a downtrend that's not, in a downtrend that's not moving. What did I say? It's in an uptrend. On the 15-minute chart was in an uptrend that's not moving up, and on the downtrend on the 3-bar chart that's not moving down. It's kind of stopped and bear flagging right here. Okay, a little confused there. I think I confused myself more than anything. All right. Okay. Notice yesterday on SPY we did gap down and we filled the gap. Okay. Again, quite the opposite on FNGU. All right, we gapped down and did not fill the gap. Okay, notice we closed here the day before. We gapped down and failed to fill the gap. So we gapped down, rallied up. All right, could not fill gap. We did produce a higher low. All right, but we also have a lot of consolidation under prior consolidation. Not a good look for FNGU as far as the bulls go. We're under the 200 SMA once again. Notice the day before we closed by holding and closing above the 200 SMA. Okay, 24 hours later, it will be yesterday. Okay, and we're back under the 200 SMA up here. Okay, and you can see we're underneath that prior day's consolidation. Again, not a good look. We're showing a little bit of weakness here on FNGU. All right, so we need them to get back up here and consolidate, kind of show us they can hold the higher ground. Not one candle, not two candles. We need to see a battery of candles. Build a shelf, a foundation, a floor up here on top of this 200 SMA. Okay, right now it's not working too well on the 15-minute chart. So we left off yesterday. Were we in an uptrend? No. Okay. We made a low, we made lower lows, so we're still in a downtrend, and we're still underneath that 200 SMA right there. Okay, let's look at the economic package. And on the economic package, we got SPY Max Pain is at 662. All right, with a put to call ratio, like I said earlier, about a little over 1 put for each call that expires today on the SPY. Okay, these are for the options that do expire today. So we'll see what happens with that, okay? Max Pain. All right, not much of a put squeeze to be had there. All right, on the dollar. Okay, the dollar's not juicing up, but anyways, it closed near 98.90 or 98.80 around there. Anyways, it's in an uptrend inside of a big bear flag. All right, so it's in an uptrend. That means it made some higher lows and a higher high, but data's not coming in for right now. I don't know why that's not working, but anyways, they're in an uptrend on the daily chart, but they are in a big weekly bear flag if you look at it. All right, so that would be the dollar. Let's take a look at earnings calendar, and then we'll visit the economic calendar. All right, we got some bank earnings coming in yesterday. Today we're going to have ASML holding. That's about 387 billion. They're going to report this morning. Bank of America, 361 billion. They're going to report this morning. Morgan Stanley, 247 billion. Again, reports this morning. Abbott Labs, 228 billion. They reported in the morning. Progressive Corporation, 138 billion. Prologis, 104 billion, and PNC Financial, 73 billion. So a whole lot of market cap reporting this morning. Nothing really market moving. Maybe Bank of America and ASML. All right, but all in all, not in the $1 trillion range. Those are the market movers right there. These will definitely help out their sectors if they can report some good numbers, and that will help grind us up a little further. We'll see what happens. There's the earnings calendar for today, for tomorrow. All right, big one, $1.5 trillion, Taiwan Semiconductor. They're going to report in the morning. Normally they don't know when they're going to report, but they're going to report in the morning. And then Schwab's going to report 169 billion in the morning with Taiwan Semiconductors. Intuitive Surgical still, I guess they're compiling their P&L still. In Interactive Brokers, 119 billion. They're going to report in the evening. Marsh McClellan, 100 billion. They're going to report in the morning. Okay, the big one this week, Taiwan Semiconductors, and of course J.P. Morgan Chase that reported yesterday. They're not in the $1 trillion range, but they are up there, and they do cover quite a bit of market share. That J.P. Morgan Chase. So Taiwan Semiconductor again, $1.5 trillion reports Thursday morning. On Friday, what do we got? 224 billion on American Express. HDFC, not sure about the P&L yet. Truist Financial. Okay, so some familiar names, but nothing that's going to be market moving on Friday. Okay, we'll hit the economic calendar. And what do we got? Powell spoke yesterday. The markets were already rallying. All right, so I'm not going to say he started the rally. They were already rallying before he spoke. Actually, after he's probably spoke, they kind of just leveled off and held the higher ground, which is a bullish stance, a bullish environment. Today, what do we got for today? We're still during the shutdown, so we may not get some economic numbers. I think we're still missing some from the prior weeks. All right, so no guarantee that economic numbers will come through. Okay, MBA mortgage application, 7 o'clock. This morning, Empire State Manufacturing Index, 8:30. And a whole bunch of, and the Beige Book at 2 and some Fed speakers. Tomorrow, we're going to have jobless claims, depending upon the shutdown. PPI final demand, 8:30. Retail sales, 8:30. Philly Fed Manufacturing Index, 8:30. Some Fed speakers. Okay. And then we're going to have a gas report at 10:30. Okay. I'm pretty sure we're going to get a petroleum report. Here it is at noon right there. Okay. And then again, some more Fed speakers. Okay. So wherever they want to move it, they're pretty much free to move it if there's no economic data to disrupt them. The only thing they have to worry about is earnings. And we just went through the bank earnings, and they seem to be all right. Friday, we've got housing starts and permits, depending upon the shutdown. 8:30, import-export prices. 8:30, industrial production. 9:15, and a rig count at 1. That's it. So really light week as far as economic data, and the rally started long before Mr. Powell got started. So I'm not gonna give him credit for the rally. All right, I'm not gonna blame him but I'm also not gonna blame him for the pullback either. So there you go. All right, so everything looking like smooth sailing. All right, as long as we're not going to get any economic numbers. And I think I might have the dollar. Yeah, so the dollar closed. It was 98.90. You can see it right here. Okay, so 98. No, that's not. I wanted the 5-day chart. Here it is. And this is going to be slow as Christmas. It's not working. Anyways, that's it. Oh, wants to work? Okay, so here's where we closed. See, Tuesday, so we closed right about there. You can see we closed at 98.87, roughly 98.90. All right, 98. See that? 98.90. That's where we closed yesterday with the U.S. dollar index. And if you want to see a bigger picture, that bear flag that we're in, I'll do a year to date. Okay, you can see price comes from the high down to the low and then just moves flat across. Okay, and of course you can see on the daily chart, there's a high. We made a higher low because here's the low, and then we made a higher high. So that puts us in an uptrend in this weekly bear flag that we're currently in. All right, that's it for me for this morning, okay? I'll be back in about 35, 40 minutes. Let me get this video out there for podcast land, and we will kick the markets off, and we'll do it live, and we'll record it again. All right, so we'll see everybody tomorrow, in about 35, 40 minutes.